everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Tech Basics. So in the previous video, we have seen how do we make use of if and else statement in Python. Now we'll try to write some programs using if and else, and then we'll also try to understand how is that nested if else is going to execute in Python. So what for we need to make use of nested if, we'll try to understand. But before that, let us write some programs using if and else statement in Python. So the syntax, as we have seen in the previous video, if expression, you need to make use of a colon, then followed by the statements with an indentation over here, else colon. So else should be exactly below if, and then indentation over here, and then you can write number of statements over here. So then you can go with your software called VS Code over there. You can open up a file and then try to write some programs over there. A is 100, B is say minus 100 or 200, whatever. Then you want to find out which is a negative number and positive number. So for that, what you do, if A is less than 0, you print a message. So A is less than 0, you are supposed to use a colon over there and you print say A. Or you can give a message saying A is negative. Else part, you can say printf, that is print B is not B, A is positive. So likewise you can give the message over there. Similar thing you can also do for B and so on. So instead of A, you can just replace this with B if it is less than 0, and so otherwise it. So try execution of this program and just click on execute. You will get A is positive. You will get here, sorry, I have not changed here. It should be B over here. We copied this. Okay, so clear this previous output and then try to execute this. So you get an output over here saying A is positive and B is negative over there. I'll try to increase the font of this. Let's try to do that. I'll go for settings. I'll try to give the font size over there as I think 22 should be better. So let's try to work with 22. I'll clear the previous output over there and okay, so this should be better, I think, to easy to view this. Okay, so this is how you can write a program wherein you can check whether the given value is negative or positive and so on. So then if you want to find out whether a given number is a even number or odd number, so how is that we are going to write a program for that? So you can take some number over there, it can be any number, and you know a number which is even will be divisible by 2. So what you do is you check A% 2. If the remainder happens to be 0, then you say over there if A% 2, if the remainder happens to be 0, then you give a message to the user saying printf A is even number. Else you can say if it is not even, it means that it is an odd number. So you can say print A is odd number. So likewise you can execute the things over there. So see this now. Execute the program. You get a message saying A is even number. Then you try to change the value over there, make it as 101. Then you get a message saying A is odd number. So just re-execute this. You get a message over there saying A is odd number. So likewise you can check whether a given number is even, whether a given number is negative or positive with the help of if and else statement. So let's try to move forward and then we'll try to understand over here what exactly we mean by nested if statement. So normally when you have a single condition, So you can display a message if the condition is satisfied. That is, one condition is satisfied. Otherwise, you can also display some other message if the condition is not satisfied. But if you have multiple conditions, then you can always go with a concept of making use of nested if else statement. So, nested if else statement is normally used when you have to apply multiple conditions and you want to check the result of that. It can be something like, if you want to find out whether a student is pass or fail in the examination, this particular statement called if and else will help us. So you can say a marks and then you can check whether greater than 40 pass, otherwise you can say fail. But in case you want to check whether the student got first division or second division or third division, or whether the student is failed, then you have to put multiple conditions over there. And whenever you want to go with multiple conditions, you are supposed to make use of if and else statement, and that too within an if you are supposed to write one more if, then you call it as nested if else statement. So the syntax of that goes like this: if expression 1, then you can write statement. If expression 2, you can write statement. You can write there if, that is ELIF. Expression 3, you can write statements over there. Otherwise, expression 4 statement. And then for this particular if, you can have an else statement. And then for this if, you can have an else statement. So within if, you can have else if. Else if is written as ELIF. Within this again you can have else if, but for this if statement you can have an else statement. For this if you want, you can also have an else statement, and so on. So let's try to practice this and then try to understand how is that we are going to make use of if and else statement in a nested form. So we'll try to write the same program wherein we'll try to find out whether the student is pass or fail, and if pass, in what division the student has passed. So you can take some marks over there in one or two subjects, and then you can make a total of this by saying M1 plus M2. You can calculate the average over here as a total by 2.0, 2.0. Okay, two subjects. So you can write that, and then you can now find out if M1 greater than equal to 40, okay, and M2 greater than equal to 40. So what it means for us, if the marks in first subject greater than 40 and the marks of second subject greater than 40, then you are going to say printf, that is print student is passed in. We don't know the division, so I'm not going to display here right now the division. I'm just going to say student is passed in. The division we need to calculate further. So how is that you are going to do for that? So within this you write now if the average, so division is like more than 60%, you will get first, more than 50, below 60 second, and otherwise third, and if it is anyhow less than 40, you are going to get fail, and so on. So if average is greater than or equal to 60%, average is greater than or equal to 60 means it is 60% you are finding out. So then you can say print, you can say a message, give a message to the student saying passed in first division. Okay, so what happens now? It will first check whether the student is passed. If the student is passed, it is going to put this particular message, student is passed in. When this is true, it will come here, and when it will display this, and then it will come here. If the division is greater than 60, if the average is greater than 60, then it will display first division. Otherwise, you have to write here one more condition, and that you will write it as elif average greater than equal to 50. What it means for us, see, if average is greater than 60, it will display this. But if average is not greater than 60, it means your average is less than 60. So if average is less than 60, you are comparing with the second condition, and that is between 50 60. So you don't have to write here again less than 60. It will come to elif here only when the average is less than 60. So now writing here average greater than 50, meaning you are comparing for average greater than 50 and average less than 60. Okay, so in that case, you give a message to the user saying passed in. You can just say passed in second division. Else if you can say average greater than equal to 40. So if average is greater than equal to 40, you can say passed in third division. Okay. Now you write else print student is failed. Just try to understand this very clearly once again. So how it is going to work? You are calculating the total marks here, average marks over here, and then you are saying if M1 greater than 40 and M2 greater than 40. This is to check whether the student has passed. Only when the student has passed, he may come in first division or second or third. So for that reason, what you are doing? You are first checking out whether the student has passed. If passed, you can give a message to the user saying student is passed in, but we don't know the division. So for that, what you need to write? You need to write further conditions over there. If average happens to be greater than 60, then you say first division. Otherwise, if average between 50-60, second division. Otherwise, average between 40-50. So when it will come to this, it will come only when your average is less than 60, only when average is less than 50, it will come over here. That means that your student or the student has passed in third division. If none of this, if the first condition that you have mentioned over here do not satisfy, it will straight away come to else part and it will display that student has failed. Let's try to execute this and check the output. Run this, you get the output directly because we have given over there the marks directly. So here it says the student has passed in first division. That is because the marks are more than 60. So average is going to be more than 60. So try to reduce this and then you put M2 marks equals to say 44. Yeah. So try execution of this particular program and then you can check here. You get a message saying student has passed in second division. Try to make it as 20. So in one subject the student has scored 20. So in that case you should get a message saying the student is failed. Yeah. So try to reduce this to 40 and the marks in second subject also try to reduce to 40. So in that case you should get a message saying student has passed in third division. Student is passed in third division. So likewise you can check, you can apply multiple conditions and you can check whether the student has passed in first division, second division, third division, or the student is failed. So whenever you want to apply multiple conditions, then you can always make use of nested if and else statement. So in this case, within an if you are going to write one more if, you are supposed to do that by saying elif over here and so on. So for every if you can have an else part exclusively. So this is how you can write and work with the concept of nested if and else statement. So what you can do is you can try out this and then you can write a program over here in this fashion. So you can try out in this fashion. What you do here is you can say program to display whether the tax is to be paid as 10%, 20% or 30%. Okay, so what you do is you display over here whether the tax is to be paid as 10%, 20%, 30% and so on like. So how is that you are going to do that? Whether the user has to pay the tax as 10%, 20% or 30%. So this can be decided based on the salary of the user. If the salary of the user is going to be, say, I'm just taking roughly, if the salary is going to be between 1 to 1 lakh, you say that the user has to pay a tax of 10%. If the salary is above this, that is say from 1 lakh 1 to say 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs, then you say user has to pay 20%, and then say greater than 10 lakhs, you say user has to pay 30% of tax. Okay, so you can write and try out writing this particular program wherein you have to apply multiple conditions, and then you need to find out how is that a tax value is calculated. So try out this on your own. If not, we'll try to do this in our next video. So let's try to move ahead, and then we'll try to understand over there the concept wherein we will try to work out with the concept of loops in Python. So basically, we are going to make use of the concept of loops in Python in order to repeat a task for multiple times. So Python supports while loop, it supports for loop, and so on. So let's try to understand what exactly we mean by a loop and why is that we have to make use of the concept of loops in Python. So whenever you want to perform a task, and if the task has to be repeated for number of times, then you are supposed to make use of loops in Python. So you can do this with the help of while, you can do this with the help of for statement, and so on. So what we are trying to say over here is, when you want to perform a given task, say for 1,000 times, say for 10 times, then in that case, instead of we repeating the task for 1,000 times or 10 times, you can do it with the help of a particular for loop or a while loop. So wherein you will write the task or you will perform the task only for one time, but you will make it to happen for 10 times. Say for example, in the previous case, we have taken a program wherein we have checked whether the student has passed or failed, and if the student has passed, in what division that particular student has passed. But when you have executed that particular program, it was doing the task only for one time and for a particular student. But if the same has to be done for the number of students in a class, maybe say 60 students in a class, then what you have to do is the task has to be repeated for number of times. So in that case, you will make use of the concept of while loop or for loop. It is something like when we go to the temple and when we take rounds over there, rounds of the god, then we calculate how many rounds we have done on the fingers. So if you are making 21 rounds, then you will count on fingers. After making the first round, you will say 1. After making the second, you will say 2. In that way, you will ensure that your count reaches 21 and then you will stop the process. The same thing will happen in case of a while loop, or the same thing will happen in case of a for loop over here. So if you check this, you will see the flowchart in this fashion. You are going to mention a condition over here. If the condition is true, then what is going to happen is your while statement will execute over there. This has to be at the downside. A while statement will execute over there if it is true, and then it will again go and check the condition over there. So if the condition that you have mentioned is false, it will come and stop over here. I'll repeat. You will put a condition in while. If the condition happens to be true, it will come and execute these while statements over here. Here you can have an arrow at the bottom side. And then after execution of this statement, it will again go back and it will check the condition. So as long as the condition is true, you will be executing this particular statements and so on. But once the condition is false, it will come and stop over here. So this is how you can write a while statement. So how is that we do this? Let's try to execute the program on this. Yeah. So what you do is you say I equals to, you say 1. Say I want to display here numbers from 1 to 5. So what I'll do, I'll start with 1, then I will go to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So if I just say now print I, what happens? It is going to print the number and it is going to print the value of I, which is 1. but I want to do this for how many times? I want to do it for 5 times. So in that case, when you want to repeat this particular task, you can always do it with the help of a while loop. How is that you are going to write this now? You will say while the value of I is less than or equal to 5. So if the value of I is going to be less than or equal to 5, then you will say print the value of I. So what happens now? In our case, the value of I is 1. It is less than 5. So it will print the value of I, which is 1. After that, you try to increment the value of I by 1. So then it starts with 1, it is less than 5, it will print 1, it will increment by 1, and it will go back again to this condition. So next time the value of I is 2, which is less than 5, so it will print the value of I, again it will increment. So as long as this condition is true, it is going to execute the statements which are present in this while statement. So try execution of this. Okay. While I less than or equal to 5. That the condition we have written over there. Invalid syntax it says over there. That is because I less than equal to 5. And then you can execute this. So you get the output over there. Braces were required over here, parenthesis. So you got an output as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Okay, why it has stopped over here after 5? That is because the value of I becomes 6. 6 is neither less nor equal to 5. So the process has been stopped. So if I say over here, I want to print the numbers up to 100, then I just need to start with 1. I should take the value up to 100 and then I should print it. So see over here now, you get the values. So you get the result over here. From 1, the numbers are printed up to 100 and so on. So you can do it in a forward direction. You can as well do it in a reverse way. If I value, you want to print numbers from 100 to 1, then you can say start with 100, the value of I, and then you say I value greater than or equal to 1. So what it means for us? Initially it is 100. Is it greater than 1? It is true. So it will print 100. Next time you need to say here the value of I minus 1. So that next time the value is 99, it will the condition is true because it is greater than 1, so it will print 99, then 98, so on. It will come down till the value of I is 0. When it is 0, it means it is neither greater nor equal to 1. So the process will stop over there. Just check this now. So now you got the numbers up to 1 starting from say 100 and so on. Okay, so this is how you are going to work with a while statement, that is a while loop we can say. So you try to write a program wherein you display the numbers as 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and so on. As well you try to display 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and so on. This you do display up to 101 and this you try to display up to 500 and so on. So let's try to understand and write more programs in our next video, wherein we'll try to understand while statement in detail along with a for loop and so on. Thank you.